And just a reminder to everyone, you can put it on whatever view you want. Speaker view will the faces of myself, Rod, Mike Pfeiffer, and Denny visible as we chat. If you don't want to see us, you can make that decision.
And they had it in the.
Don't forget to mute everyone. I hear a nice loud conversation in the background.
He's gonna try to print the list for you guys, but she like sent it just like.
Okay.
Yeah, he's probably gonna take out one more minute. Oh, here.
Don't forget to mute.
She's opening up the cheese for me. Lily.
Hello, how can I figure out? There we go. Did we get muted? All righty. Greg, you had your hand up. You want to unmute and say hello? Hello, Greg? Oh, maybe not. All right, we are at 6:25, so I think we should start. Even though some people are dragging their feet joining, I'll keep an eye on the waiting room. Cheers, everyone. I hope you have something refreshing to sip on, notably either this unique Sauvignon Blanc or that gorgeous Marchigliani Corsican Rosé. Chin chin to everyone. Summer is here. No argument about that. I'm sure some of us are flipping on our AC, and most of us are happy to mow the lawn and garden. A reminder, you can keep the questions coming in the chat room. I don't think we have Marshall joining us tonight. He usually is the one who keeps a very close eye on the chat room, but I think between the four of us plum peeps, we can ask the questions out loud. I am not solo tonight. I've got in that glorious bed of flowers, Rod Johnson, coordinator of the Ann Arbor Plum Markets. I've got sitting happily at Ponte Canet. We have Denny Walsh, coordinator for the Bloomfield stores. We've got our friend Mike Pfeiffer, who is in a nice cool room, wine team leader at Ann Arbor West, and helpfully in the background, but taking care of the West Bloomfield wine department, we've got Paula Hartson, a staff member. We are going to give you our favorite picks from the just launched, now annual spring sale. We had it for the first time last year, and I'm actually going to turn it over to Denny Walsh before we do anything else. Yes, by all means taste. Per usual, you know, we're going to get to all four wines when we hit the sections they belong to on the spring sale. You may or may not have gotten the PDF, the list I sent you, but it is on the website and we'll show you where. And also I'm gonna screen share the list as we talk through the options. So don't wait for us to taste, go for it. Denny, I'm gonna turn it over to you to give us the short version of what this sale means. And I'm gonna bring up our website to demonstrate that. And here's Denny Walsh.
This is South Bond.
Can everyone see this now, our website? Charlene, don't forget to mute.
Oh.
Thank you.
Well, good evening and welcome to everyone. We appreciate your time and your interest. As Madeline mentioned, this is our second go round with a spring wine sale. All of this brought about by our pandemic situation last year. This year, we're a little bit ahead of it. We've done it before, and we feel we have it set up to make it user-friendly and have a very nice, thorough selection of wines. And this is one of the 2 times a year that we are offering a discount, a 10% discount on top of the regular plum prices. So it's such a special situation that we've done to do this in lieu of having the in-person event, which hopefully down the road we'll get back to. So again, the spring sale, you've got your invitation and your brochure. And just we'll real quickly go over the procedure for ordering wine. This is a type of situation that all the wines all the orders should be ordered through the website. And that would facilitate us getting the orders ready for you so that when you pick them up, they're all done, they're paid for, and we just wheel them out to your car because you'll need help with all those cases. So we'll just, when you got your invitation for the spring wine sale and the tasting, you have a chance to register down on the bottom where it says spring wine sale. And you go to that, and just like we did the last time, you have to select the store that's the best for you to pick up your wine, either one of the 2 Ann Arbor stores or the 2 Oakland County stores. We would certainly prefer you to shop at West Bloomfield.
And actually, I'm interrupting just for a moment because this is the Plum Market homepage, and we have put in a link right here. If you want to go in and out of it, you don't have to go back to where you registered. So you can click on that and it will take you to where you select your store. But they're shopping at Ann Arbor West tonight, Denny. There we go.
I understand that. So you select your store for where you're going to pick it up. After that, you see there are a number of different categories, all of which we'll run through quickly this evening. And to select a wine from that category, you click onto that particular category and find the item you'd like. And then after you've done that, you click on it and then put it in the shopping basket. We would like to have you put in more than 1 bottle of everything, but you can put in whatever you'd like. And when you get done putting that particular item, you go back to the previous situation where you have the choice of categories and you go to the next category. So throughout your ordering situation, you go to each category, order the wines, put them in your basket, and accumulate the number of wines that you want to order and pick up. When you're ready and you think you've got your 4 or 5 cases ready to go, you click basket, and that takes you to checkout. There's some procedural situations on the left where you're of the checkout, where you're going to put in name, email, and so forth. And you will be assigned a pickup date, which is around 4 days. That gives us a chance in case you've got a larger number of items that we are low on or whatever it may be, to have your stuff all ready so that when you come in, it's all ready and available. And as you go through it, it'll say checkout. When you get down to checkout, it'll ask for your discount code, which is spring wine. You type that in and it takes 10% off.
And it's 1 word, correct? No,
Spring wine. That's
no
right.
spaces, and it can be any, does the font matter, Denny?
No.
It doesn't. And I didn't have that page for you to look at, but it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, it's right there. You just hit the little button and it goes to spring wine, and you hit it. You put this punch in spring wine, and that will fulfill your order. You can see that the 10% was taken off, and you can then get a copy of your order. Order goes to whichever store. They put the order together, and we look forward to seeing your smiling face when you come in. That for somebody who's pretty much computer illiterate, I think I did it today. So if I can do it, so can you. So we look forward to that.
And I will on the follow-up email after tonight. You'll have all of our email addresses accessible to you, which I think you all know how to reach us anyway, in case you want to help anyone, to have anyone help you with the process. Hi, Andy. Thanks for joining us. Hello,
Yeah, if you
everyone.
touch base with any of the wine team leaders, or if you have a person that you shop with generally at one of the stores, a phone call, an email to him to help set up your order. Be happy to do that with anyone. So we look forward to hearing from you and then seeing you as well.
And this PDF, which I'm going to pull up and share right now, was emailed to you. Can everyone see that? Denny, you see that?
Yes, I do.
Great. It's also on the website in case you want to print it out, but I will attach it again on the follow-up email so you can print it out. You know, I'm a fossil. I like a piece of paper and a pen in my hand so I can figure out what my order is before I trump online and enter it. So we're going to review all this at the end as well. But in the meantime, we're going to take turns toggling back and forth and point out some highlights. So we're not tasting until we get to Sauvignon Blanc. So if you have any wine in front of you, please start sipping. And Denny's going to tell us about his favorites under champagne and sparkling wine. Just a gentle suggestion. I hear somebody in the background. Try to keep yourself on mute, even if you're whispering. It's just easier for everyone else to hear. Thank you for that. All right, Denny, here we go. First two categories are yours.
All right, so the champagne and sparkling wine selection. I have three items that I think are all dramatically different that I liked quite a bit. And we'll just give you a little bit of a capsule view on those. The Laurent Perrier Cuvée Rosé, the Brut Champagne, is really a special bottle of rosé champagne. A little pricey, but then rosé champagne is, but this one really delivers. This is an old champagne house, but this particular cuvée was created in 1968, and it's known for its fragrance. They say it was crafted for fragrance, not mixed for color. And it's a very intense, fruity nose, and it's basically all fresh red fruits, strawberries, black currants, and raspberries. It's got a very fine sparkle to it. So it's a really well-crafted, very pleasant, and easy to like bottle of rosé champagne that is really nice for a special occasion. Definitely a weekend wine for that special evening, and great with light summer fare or just when you want to enjoy one. The next one is the Somariva Prosecco, which is my favorite of all the Proseccos that we carry. And when I was looking this up, this is a Kermit Lynch wine that is just now arriving back into our stores. It's been out of, and we finally talked the local supplier into keeping a supply locally so that we don't run out all the time. And at this particular price point, it's by far, in my opinion, the best Prosecco that we carry.
And it's a brut, correct?
It's
not an extra
yes.
dry, so it's dry.
No, it's dry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize how large this particular VOC is where they make all the Prosecco. But they said if you could imagine the city of San Francisco being covered with vines and then double it, that's how big this appellation is for Prosecco. Now that's greater Prosecco. This particular Prosecco comes from the Prosecco, the Superiore area, and it's a much more controlled area that's in the off with the Alps in the distance, and is a perfect growing area for the Glera grape that is the principal one for Prosecco. This is a DOCG, so it's a one step above the normal, and is just a step above a lot of the inexpensive Proseccos, which a lot of folks use for spritzes and for mimosas. This is not one you do. This is one you enjoy on its own. It's delicious, it's crisp, it's light, it's refreshing, and there's no element of sweetness to it. The third item is a totally new item from Domaine Chandon. It's called their Garden Spritz. And if you are a fancier of Aperol spritzes or any of the other spritzes that are popular right now, this is something that Chandon has created and is just now released. This is a sparkling wine from Argentina that is made with Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Semillon. And then it is combined with a concoction, which they call at the end garden liqueur that is hand peeled Valencia oranges and orange peel, a number of herbs and spices, and these are all macerated, and they are eventually create this liquid that is then added to the sparkling wine at the very end before it's bottled. It has a fairly prominent orange taste. It has a touch of sweetness, a touch of bitterness. It's not the kind of thing that I would normally open, but I was pleasantly surprised and found it very refreshing. And I tried it over ice, which I thought was the best way to serve it. But these three items are all very different. The spritz is really interesting. We've had a lot of people try it. We sort of make sure they know that they're grabbing a spritz and not another Chandon Brut or a another extension of that. This is a totally separate item, but it's part of the overall Chandon family. So those three are the three that I'm selecting as favorites for me. On the Chardonnay situation, again, we've got a nice selection. I start out with one that we tasted several months ago when we had a Hartford Court wine seminar with Madeline and the gentleman who's the general manager and winemaker.
Jeff Stewart, right? And this,
Yes.
we were all stunned at the value of this wine.
This is the 219 Russian River Chard, which is a blend of some of their estates plus, as they said, properties that are their friends and neighbors. And this is their entry level. And at $21.97, it's just killer Chardonnay. It's flavorful, typically Russian River, easy, but something that combines a little oak and a lot of flavor. It's one of those items that it's friendly. It's all barrel fermented, but with only 25% of it in new oak. I guess the word I use with a wine like this is it's a real overachiever. It's great wine and great on a night like this, sitting on the outside on the deck. One of my favorite wines for the wholesale selection is the Domaine Francois Carillon Bourgogne Blanc. This was something that we went on a hunt for some 218 vineyard brands Bourgognes, and Rod and I tasted 3 or 4 of these items. Actually, he was the one that suggested this producer. We've carried their wines before, but their properties are up in Pouligny-Montrachet, and the family itself has been in the winemaking business for over 500 years, and people have died and passed it off and so forth. This current Francois Carillon is about is a recent situation, 10 or 20 years doing what he's doing. He and his brother split up, and this is his property. But again, his claim to fame are wines from Pouligny, and this particular Bourgogne, which is a inexpensive, approachable, ready-to-drink Chardonnay from the Burgundy region, is from a couple of plots in Pouligny-Montrachet, as well as Meursault. And it's very typical French white Burgundy, crisp, lean, great minerality, and very easy to enjoy. Ready to drink now, will age for several years, but just a mouthful of really nice, complex Burgundy at a price that doesn't say it can't be enjoyed more than once a week. The last of the three that I chose was the Louis Jadot Chassagne-Montrachet. And this is the first time we've been able to get that in. And this is a very famous producer who has a lot of his own stuff, as well as he buys and sells fruit. And this particular Chassagne-Montrachet is well priced at $74.97. Big wine, age-worthy, really, really interesting white Burgundy that I think people who want to put a wine aside for a while should consider it. First time we've had it, and drinks really well.
Thank you,
You're on.
Denny. Great comments. I mean, I can listen to Denny and Rod and Mike talk about wine because I get tired of hearing the sound of my own voice, though I am going to hear it now for a moment, and bear with me as I take us to our little slideshow here. Before we launch into Sauvignon Blanc, Mike, we all decided that we're going to talk about the one wine that is from this category, which is third from the last in this category, and it is the Salvard Unique Blanc. Pay no attention to the fact that this is 2012. And actually, when you see this wine in the store, for some reason, they toned down this gorgeous butterfly label and made it a little bit more restrained and elegant. But we're in the Loire Valley in northern France. It's a long river valley. This is where Puy-Fumé and Sancerre live. This is made from Sauvignon Blanc, but from an area called Cheverny. Just a reminder, everyone, please check and make sure you're muted. We're still getting background noises. Thanks a lot. Sorry to sound like a broken record, but just make it a mission to make sure your mute is on. So this is from actually northeastern Touraine. And I like this map because it shows us there's Puy-Fumé and Sancerre, and there is Cheverny, where these folks are located. Actually, it's two brothers, Emmanuel and Thierry, and as they didn't identify who's who, we're not sure who we're looking at right now. So, maybe they're identical twins with the same outfit. And then this is just a great view of a working French farm. I'm going to go ahead and taste it with you. Cheers, everybody. I adore this wine because it is, when you put your nose in the glass, absolutely the essence of Sauvignon Blanc. It just smells like, white grapefruit rind and fresh snipped herbs and grass. And on the palate, it's mouthwatering, crisp. I mean, to me, quintessential, light-bodied, easy drinking, Sauvignon Blanc, mouth-watering, ideal with salad for the summertime. Zippo oak on this. And they give it some skin contact, so it's got a little bit of a nice, what I call white wine tannin, phenolic character to it. I hope some of you have it out there. It is a spectacular value at $15. And, again, Kermit Lynch Imports, we are very lucky to have a terrific relationship with. Talk about mouth-watering. And if it's too tart for you, all you need to do is have something with a little bit of a squeeze of lemon on it. Andy and Paul, please make sure you're on mute. I'm still getting background noise from several sources. Sorry to bother you. You can always, choose to ask a question or type it in the chat room if you want to. Oh, I can mute you. Here we go. I forgot I can do that. Hey, all righty. Mike, you're on to talk about Sauvignon Blanc in general. And do you know what I just realized? This wine is located in two sections of our sale list. It is here, right? And it's also under Unique Whites and, oh no, that's the Cheverny Blanc. Never mind.
Blanc. Yep.
Okie dokie. You're on. Never mind. Listen to Mike, not to Madeline.
All right, so some big names in the Sauvignon Blanc section, including Cloudy Bay and Kim Crawford and Mary Edwards, but I'm going to stay close to Sancerre with Domaine d'Aulnay, Clos de Chardonnay. One of our, in Ann Arbor West, one of our best sellers is Domaine d'Aulnay Sancerre, but this is their single vineyard, the Clos de Chardonnay. It is situated next to d'Aulnay's winery. It's atop a Kimmeridgian ridge, and it has southern exposure, so it gets a little bit more heat. This is a fantastic Sancerre at great value. We have it at $24.99, which in the world of Sancerre these days is a steal, to be honest with you. And the Clos de Chardonnay, most of it is aged in steel tanks. It is a racy wine. It is a fine wine, and it is focused on Sauvignon Blanc aromas. It's got medium weight and texture, but it is crisp with a long finish. I'm guessing the medium weight comes from the southern exposure. and a little more heat, but it is a fantastic value.
Mike,
terms
I
of
want to
Sancerre.
agree with you. I'm going to tag team only in saying I've been buying this wine since my first days at the Matt Prentice Restaurant Group, and it has never dipped. And that was, a couple of decades ago. But this is one of those producers, Dalny. Wouldn't you agree that you could just buy anything they make? They're so consistently terrific.
Yeah, absolutely. And they own, 15 hectares of vines. It's divided into 50 different plots within the Sancerre region. And so they qualify for me as a Sancerre expert in terms of wine producing. Staying within France, the Greville-Lacoste Bordeaux Blanc is also a favorite, also a wonderful seller for us in Ann Arbor West. It is Greville-Lacoste varies in terms of its blend between Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon. Some years it's very close to 50-50. Some years it's 60-40, but a wonderful example of for $17 of a white Bordeaux that goes with a variety of dishes. And then lastly, for me, in coming over back to California, I am a huge fan of Viviana Gonzalez at Catalaya. And we did an event with her and her husband, Jeff Bozzoni, a couple weeks ago. To me, Viviana is one of the most talented winemakers in California that's come around in a long, long time. And this is her Sauvignon Blanc out of Sonoma. It's got some nice points, which is nice, but to me, it's a little more tropical, a little more round than what you're going to find from the old world, but still a delicious bottle of Sauvignon Blanc. She was born and raised in Colombia, trained in France, moved to California in 2007, and has been literally setting the world on fire ever since then. Mm-hmm. And not only would I recommend her Sauvignon Blanc, but I've had the opportunity to taste recently a lot of her other offerings, and they're fantastic. But this Sauvignon Blanc is terrific.
Thank you, Mike. That was ideal. And here's the wine we tasted, by the way, the Domaine du Salvard Unique Sauvignon Blanc at $14.97. And I actually was very pushy in demanding that I talk about unique whites because I love everything on here. I'm going to go down here to explain the difference between the Sauvignon Blanc we just tasted and the Salvard Cheverny Blanc that's named after their appellation that we saw on the map. This has about 15% Chardonnay in it. So it gives it a little bit more richness, but none of them have any oak. None of them go through mallow, and all of them have extended skin contact. So they also make an absolutely stone cold, gorgeous rosé. So another one of those eeny meeny producers. Quickly going through this. We threw this on at the last minute because we just had a Michigan tasting last week, and Sean O'Keefe from Mari on the Old Mission is making some of the most creative wines on the planet. This is Pinot Grigio blended with, what is it? Sauvignon Blanc, Riesling, and I forgot.
Malvasia.
Thank you. Grape variety. So it's highly aromatic. It's orange wine in that it's made with extended skin contact. And to remind us all, Pinot Grigio, aka Pinot Gris, is thin-skinned red grape. I asked him if we could call this natural, and he said no, because he'd use just a skosh of sulfur, but not much, just to keep the wine stable. It is truly one of the most stylish Pinot Grigios you'll taste. It's got weight, it's delicious, it does not taste weird, and it is the hip category of orange wine. I actually spoke to a couple of our wine team leaders that aren't here tonight. Jorge Lopez Chavez from Ann Arbor North Campus loves this wine too, and he adores Champollion Vouvray, textbook, pure, gorgeous Chenin with just enough fruitiness to make it interesting. We had actually the producer, the winemaker on that makes the Luigi Badana Dragon on a few weeks ago. And this is a killer blend, again, from the Piedmont, Northwestern Italy, but with a touch of Riesling. It's aromatic, it's round, it's delish. You can't put your finger on it, but perfect summer wine from a Nebbiolo producer. And then finally, Jorge wanted me to mention Dunoff Trocken Riesling. Trocken means dry. If you haven't discovered the dry Riesling category, it's something that's really exciting. You get the high-toned floral aromatics of Riesling, but no residual sugar, mouth-watering acidity. Again, great summer wine to be softened by a little bit of vinaigrette or lemon on a salad or fresh fish. Okay, Mike, we're toggling back to you to talk about rosé, but we should taste the Marchigliani, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm going to bring up our.
Yes, we are.
We're going to bring up our pictures. We're in Corsica, and I have to tell you, this rosé is not, you know, your normal dry rosé by anybody's measure. It is so perfumed and delicate and lifted and pale and elegant. I just truly adore it. And I don't even like eating food with it because it's so pretty. I just want to drink it by itself. And I couldn't decide between the two maps of Sardinia, Corsica, sorry. So you got them both. Here we are, Ven de Corse, and we're here. We're just at the foothills, actually. This is significant altitude. You know, they go up at the peak. They go up to almost 8,000 feet above sea level. Who knew? So you get altitude helping to keep the grapes cool, and you've got the Mediterranean.
We're not seeing your map. If you're trying to, we're still looking at the wine list.
That's strange. Stop share. Okay, thank you for telling me, because I'm going to try again.
You're sharing a specific screen, not your actual screen.
Okay, can you see it now?
Yes.
Oh, great. No, thank you very much. I appreciate it. There's Marchigliani located. Hold on just a moment. I appreciate you doing that. There we go. There's the gorgeous label. We're located here on the east coast of Corsica. And this is the owner's daughter, Anne Amalric, who came back. She's an agricultural chemist who came back and actually focused more on almonds and olives, because a big part of their production are their olive groves. They're considered to be, their olive oil is considered to be the best in Corsica. And she planted more of a local grape called Schiacarello to produce this beautiful perfumed rosé that's intentional. It's obtained by direct press. It's not made to concentrate, one of their reds. And here's a glamour shot of one of their harvesters of olives. So again, what are we charging for this, gents? I need to pull that back up.
$29.97.
$29.97.
No, it's relatively pricey rosé, but it's just glorious.
During the sale, it's $3 off.
Yep, and let me see if I can bring that back. Are we looking at the list again?
Yep.
Yay! Thank you to whoever helped me out with that. So it's right here, the Marchigliani Rosé. Go ahead, Mike, on your other favorites in this category.
So real quick on the Marchigliani, I find it a little, and I tasted it with the team today, they found it a little heavier than it has been in the past.
Huh.
One of the things that I think many don't realize is that rosé can age a little bit. We are still have some 2019s that are showing exceptionally well. I think with the weight on Marchigliani, this will last through this summer and into next summer. If you wanted to grab, you know, a couple bottles rather than just one.
So it's a little more muscular than the 19? Yep. Okay,
yep.
great.
So
Thank you, because I'm not drinking it. Mm-hmm.
Yep. The other one two others I wanted to emphasize would be the Hermitage, the Pic Saint Loup from Languedoc. The Revised family creates wine that expresses terroir. This one is comprised of 30% Syrah and Grenache, 30 Mourvèdre, 10 Cinsault. This one on the shelf is probably the brightest rosé in terms of color on the shelf. The Pic Saint Loup is high elevation limestone slopes. which gives us a cool climate, which imparts elegance, minerality, and it's vividly pure and very bright red color. This one is very refreshing, brambly garrigue, earthy, peppery spice. It's got just about everything. It's a delicious rosé. And I know Denny appreciates this, but this is also a natural wine. They don't put anything in this. They don't add anything to it. They only add sulfur if it's needed. But this is a non or minimal intervention rosé. The other one is the Tavel rosé, the Tric Tavel. Tavel is interesting to me because it's the only AOC in the Rhone that is made up entirely of rosé. So what that tells me is they are really serious about rosé. Tavel rosé is, to me, if I have someone who's looking to take a white wine drinker to red wine or a red wine drinker to white wine, I go to Tavel and say, try Tavel. It is bigger in style most times. It can deal with a variety of dishes, including heavier dishes. The interesting rule about Tavel is they only allow up to 60% Grenache. And as we all know in the Southern Rhone, Grenache is king, but they only allow 60%. This is 60% Grenache, 13 Claret, 13 Syrah, 10 Cinsault, 3 Mourvedre, and 1 Bourbonnais. It's got great acidity. It's got great balance. It's a year-round rosé that only gets better as it ages in bottles. So highly recommended, and a fan favorite in Ann Arbor West.
We're still hearing background noise. I'm sorry, but because I haven't figured out how to toggle over to mute everyone. So, and I should be able to do that, but I haven't determined how to do that. So please, everyone, look at your screens just to get rid of the background noise. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I keep coming back to that. And we are going to soar over to Pinot Noir, which again, you luckily get to talk about, right, Mike? Yay.
We'll do this one real quick because there's a lot of really good Pinot Noirs on the list. But we're going to do a New World and an Old World. Rose Rock Zafrine Pinot Noir from Willamette Valley is a fantastic Pinot Noir from Willamette. Rose Rock is the vineyard, the southern tip of Ile Amity Hills in the Willamette Valley. It's on ancient volcanic soils, and it's an ideal elevation for both Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. This one is aromas of red berries, toast, herbs, and purple flowers. It's complex, it's layered flavors, it's round, it's juicy, in a fruity version of Sauvignon Blanc, or of Sauvignon Blanc, of Rosé. Going to Burgundy, Rod can help me out a little bit with this one. This is Domaine Gruyere, Bourgogne Rouge. Rod will tell you that he's actually met the folks from Gruyere. Their Bourgogne Rouge is a great example of what, as I looked through notes and things, it's a great example of an entry-level Burgundy, red Burgundy, that is by no means an entry-level red Burgundy. The folks at Gruyere do a fabulous job of both their whites and their reds. And there you go. June 4th.
We're going to meet him on June 4th.
We're going to meet them. Yes. We're going to meet them. But this Bourgogne Rouge is a wonderful example of what red Burgundy should be at this price point, and even higher price points. But this is truly what I call great QPR, which is great quality price ratio.
Can I add something, Mike?
Oh yeah.
It comes from the Epinoy region, so that's a Liudite. They make a red and a white. The white comes from Tonnerre. Both the vineyards are actually up in the Chablis region, so that's not anywhere near Burgundy, but it qualifies because it's in the umbrella of that. So up in that region, you have the special soils, and that's why you get the reds have a nice bright red fruit aspect, nice minerality, and the whites have a lovely aspect too. So This isn't their entry level. This is their red. This is what they hang their hat on, this red. So this is really special.
Can you see the list, Rod? Did I
Yes, I
manage to
can.
bring it back up? Oh, yay. And when we do meet him, it's going to be on a Friday, and it's going to be at 4 o'clock our time, because that's going to be, what, 10 p.m. his time. So he's being kind enough to join us.
The French stay up late, though, so.
Yeah. Mike, did you have any more comments on Pinot, or are we
No, I think we should move
progressing to
along.
cab
Yep.
and red blends? Denny, we're going to taste the
Pessimist.
Daou Pessimist. So let me bring up a couple of shots of this pretty gorgeous winery. Let's see if I can make this happen. Hold on. Share. We're still in Corsica. And there we are in Daou. And you know, I'm always telling people, look at the back label. You see the Pessimist label? Yes. If you turn it around, I look at their website. I listen to a recording with Daniel Daou, the winemaker. Nowhere does anyone say why they call it Pessimist, except on the back label, where it says a pessimist is never disappointed. So there you have it. It's their cheerful red, and it is a blend of Petite Sirah, 62%, Zinfandel, Syrah, and Lagrein, which is a grape that has its origins in northeastern Italy. But when you taste it, it's got a significant chunk of oak on it in the form of vanilla, and probably a little American oak too. I taste a little coconut, but you have this fabulous meaty character that comes from the Syrah, and very velvety tannins. This is a Cabernet Sauvignon specialist. These folks are from Lebanon originally. They're in the Adelaida district, and they purchased the original Hoffman Mountain Ranch. That was the first winery you ever visited, you said, Denny, right?
Yep.
Beautiful rolling hills of Paso. And going back to the map real quick, this is considered a warm climate growing region, but you've got 11 districts here. And the ones that are hugging the Pacific, I think we're like 16 miles from the Pacific here, get some influence through passes, notably Templeton Gap district. So the winds come in, and you've also got significant altitude here. This is Daou Mountain, over 2,000 feet above sea level. I just love the culture, both visually and community-wise. This is not, you know, mainstream Napa. Look at these lavender bushes, man. I went down and scrunched them so I could smell them. But these are the two young brothers in Monterey when they left war-torn Lebanon. Here's their dad, who they adore, who has passed away, and here they are today. And Daniel on the right is the winemaker. But I will tell you that I think their Paso Cab is one of the best buys in Cabernet in our store. What is it, gents? $25, something like that?
Yeah.
Yep.
And this is a little bit chunkier. It's a little oakier. It's a little more concentrated. And that is for by design. They're going for intensity. Daniel Daou says, if you're finishing it with dinner and you make it to dessert, if you got chocolate cake, no problem. So that's it. Denny, you're on as far as the other cabs and blends go. And
Yeah, I'm gonna do two other cabs since you took care of the Pessimist.
Cool.
I checked to see what the distance was, but the distance between Paso Robles and Napa is 260 miles south. And so we're going to go 260 miles north up to Napa and mention the Hess Cabernet Sauvignon, the Alomi Vineyard. And, you know, like a lot of other wineries, they make a number of different tiers of wines. This is a particular single vineyard Cabernet from Napa. Actually, it's from the Pope Valley AVA in Napa, and it shouldn't be confused with the less expensive Hess Select. This is a single vineyard wine that does really well. It's hard to find a property in Napa that puts out a Cabernet with consistency that the Hess Alomi does for $25. It's what I call a serious bargain. It's a wine that's fairly forward. 218 seems to be a very good vintage, especially up in Pope Valley. And this wine is, it's very rich but approachable. So it's got soft tannins, lots of flavor. It's a 85% Cabernet. And if you've ever been to Hess, that's quite a place to go. But this particular vineyard is just released a Chardonnay and a Pinot Noir. So they're doing really good things there. And I think this is a cab that people should take note of, especially for that Napa Cabernet evening that you don't want to break the bank. On the other end of that, the 218 Chapelet Signature. That was one of the first wineries I ever visited when I was out there the first time. I don't even want to tell you how long ago that was, but that's up in on Pritchard Hill, which is east of St. Helena, up in the hills. And at that time, it was like 40 years ago, it was hard getting up there. But Chapelet pretty much discovered that area, and this is their signature Cabernet, which is their primary Cabernet. They make a red blend beneath this, and they also make a particular reserve called Pritchard Hill, which is above that. But the 218 is a spectacular bottle of wine. This is everything that you want in a Napa Cabernet that's age-worthy, full-flavored, and yet approachable. I would put this away for a while, but it is a spectacular Cabernet, and it is 85% Cabernet, 10% Petite Verdot, and 5% Malbec. It's a wine that's something that they suggest you could age it for up to 20 years. And it's big, rich, bold, and dry. It has none of the characteristics that we see in some other Cabernets coming out of Napa now that have a bit of residual sweetness to them. This is traditional, full, no holes barred Cabernet, and one that if you're going to buy a bottle of $60 Cabernet, this is one to consider.
We have a terrific question. What do you mean when you say approachable, Denny?
When I think of something approachable is that it's something that you can drink fairly early, but will evolve if you let it sit for a while. There's some wines that I think are just that traditionally are just sort of standoffish, and you feel that you are wasting your money if you drink it too young. Some skilled people like Chapelet are able to build a powerful, rich wine that has a lot of tannin, but they're subtle tannins, and with a little bit of air, I would consider them approachable. I would let this sit for 5 years. The Hess Cabernet is much less rigorous than that is, and is even more approachable. But I think there's just some wines. I mean, I just wouldn't be opening Dominus at this point, or some of the other.
Approachable is an open door saying, please, please enjoy
you
me.
You can drink me young if you'd like.
Perfect answer. I went to the trouble today, and shame on me, I haven't been accessing this, to call Michael Timpa, the wine team leader at West Bloomfield, and also Patrick Mulrooney, the wine team leader at Bloomfield. And I want to mention a couple of their Cabernet favorites. Michael says his all-time favorite #1 Cabernet at the moment is the Freemark Abbey. He loves it. And that's actually an approachable price for a classic producer at $40. And Patrick Mulrooney mentioned 3. He mirrored Denny's enthusiasm for the Chapelet. He mentioned Obsidian Ridge, and a couple of weeks ago, we had Peter Molnar, one of the 2 brothers who own Obsidian, on. And if you like big, rocky, soiled Cabernet for $35 from a region you probably haven't heard of, Red Hills, Lake County, you can't beat it. But Patrick also champions Amici from Napa Valley, more of a rich, elegant, polished style. So, fans of Michael Timpa and Patrick Mulrooney starting to share their faves. We're running a little bit behind, not a surprise. Hang with us because we're about to enter some of the more interesting discussions, and Rod's going to lead us into Left Bank Bordeaux. But Rod, I'm going to pull up Potansac first, and you've got the bottle. Let me give them just a little bit of info, and I'm taking a quick peek to make sure that I haven't forgotten any questions. You're all being wildly well-mannered since I've been browbeating everybody to stay on mute, but we're gonna take questions at the end, or you can put them in the chat room. So that said, where are we, Rod? We are in Bordeaux. We are at, can you see that? I'm double checking now that I had an earlier failure on
Yes.
screen sharing. We're in the Medoc, and I love this map that Rod's gonna go into in detail. But the takeaway is this is, this is above Saint-Estèphe, and the blend, which everybody wants to know right off the bat, the vineyards are planted to almost 50% Merlot, almost 20% Cab Franc, and over 30% Cabernet Sauvignon. This particular vintage, which, walks on water unless they made a big mistake by leaving town, has about the same, reflects the vineyard balance, but it varies from year to year. This is 44% Merlot, 39% Cab Sauv, and the balance is Cab Franc with a touch of Petite Verdot. And this is a property that's owned by the Delon wine estates. Look at this gorgeous expanse. This is a chapel on premise, which actually looks more like a church to me. And you will notice that this is where they store their barrels, which is pretty amazing. And this is the gentleman who owns the Delon estates, Jean-Hubert Delon, and he, that means that he controls Léoville Las Casses, their second label, Clos du Marquis, Potansac, and a gorgeous Pomerol estate, Nana. So, oops, hold on. I'm just doing a very bad job of this. Hold on, I will go back to our map.
I should mention that the gentleman with the shotgun there, he's
Yeah.
not protecting his property. He's a
No.
hunter. So we can't go political there. I think he's just a hunter, and he's proud of his hunting
Let me show
prowess.
that picture again. I'm not doing a very good job of from current slide. Here we go. Here he is, but he also has a fierce look on his face. So you'd like us to go back to the map, right? Here we go.
Yeah, it's a great map. It really illustrates a lot of stuff. Why Bordeaux is Bordeaux and what's going on there. So luckily, this is one of my favorite wines, so I get to talk about the wine and recommend it at the same time. Chateau Potansac. I've always loved this estate. I actually bought a case of Potansac 82. Last year, the last bottle of the case was still in great shape. I've never had one that's gone over the hill. So there's a lot of Bordeaux on this list. So I think I should kind of explain stuff because it can be intimidating. You have left bank, right bank. A lot of people say, what is that?
I should go back to the map.
If we
Right.
go back to the map, and I'll break that down, and then we can go back to the list.
Sorry about that. Here we go.
So here's the map. There's the Gironde River there. And to the left is the Medoc. There's the city of Bordeaux right in the middle. And below Bordeaux, city of Bordeaux, this is the Grave, Pessac-les-Aubenas, and Sauternes. To the right on this map is they call it the Libournais. It's Pomerol, it's Saint-Emilion, just to the right off the map, and a lot of satellite estates. Sorry. So the way to remember this, just think that you're in the Gironde, and at your back is coming the water, and the water is emptying out into the Atlantic Ocean. So that's the proper way to orient yourself. So the left bank is on your left, and that's the Medoc. Right bank is on your right, and that's the Pomerol Saint-Emilion. Wines are different though, and one of the major reasons why they're different is that on the Medoc, you have a lot of limestone and gravel in the soil. On the right bank, you have a lot of clay, sand, some limestone and gravel. What that means is basically you're going to get Merlot on the right bank as its favorite grape, and Cabernet on the left. So that is why the two areas are different. It's just the soil makeup is different. Now we see Potensac up there in the very north of the Médoc. That whole section is Médoc, and they're not entitled to any other appellation other than just Médoc. As you go further south, you run into Saint-Eustache, Pauillac, Saint-Julien, Margaux, and Haut Médoc. And then when you hit Bordeaux, you run into the Grave Estates, Paysac and Léognan. Potensac, Madeline just gave you the cepage. I went through all of these. It's all over the place in these guys. So it's let's just say, most of the states are roughly 50-50 Cabernet, Merlot, and we can get into specifics, but it really is difficult to track that down from year to year. The soil, though, at Potensac is actually limestone and gravel, which is much like Saint-Eustache and Pauillac. And as I taste the wine, that's what I think of it. The wine is fairly firm. I opened it up about an hour ago, but it has nice red fruits and black fruits, but it is a young wine. And it's starting to slip into that kind of tough state. Bordeaux's will go through that. That means when they come out, it'll be fine. I think it's a fabulous wine. As I said, I bought a case of 82 back then, and here, 30 years later, almost 40 years later, the wine was showing well. So
Would decanning help? Would waking it up with a little
I
bit
would
of
say yes
decanning
with
help?
mini Bordeaux's. I would say yes. Mini Bordeaux's is going to help, especially with when they slip into that state that the 16s are going through now. That said, I should also, on this list, you'll see there's a lot of 15s and 16s. This is the fact the last round that we did a special search of the marketplace and tried to grab as many 15s and 16s as we could. Those are two great vintages. I suggest you buy them now. If you've got kids born in those two vintages, great for them, because you have a birth-year wine, they'll last that. But these wines will start to come around in the next 4 to 5 years and be really near their peak. So if you buy them now at these prices, I think you're doing great. So Potensac is certainly one of my favorites there. My other favorite is the top wine, mix of 6 2018 gold medal winners. That's 6 bottles. That's about $13 a bottle. These are all estate bottle Bordeaux. So being Bordeaux, they're going to be mostly Merlot, but 18 is the next vintage to look at after 16. When I was in Bordeaux in for the 2016 release, I thought that was the best vintage I had ever faced as a young wine. Some people say 18 is right there. Some people say 19 is even better than 18, but still, I think 16 is as class of vintages I've ever had. But these 18s are fabulous. The top wine says Father's Day. I mean, it's 6 bottles in a wood case. You can't make it any easier than that. Some of the other things on this left bank, if you go down the list, all of the, there's a thing called a Cru Class. In 1855, they rated all of the wines on the left bank, not rated, but picked out 60 of the very top wines and gave them rankings. All of these wines on this list, except for Potensac, which is a Cru Bourgeois, are from rated estates. The Cantamourle, the Griffins, that's the second wine of second growth, and all of the rest down to Gloria is not. Gloria did not exist in 1855. However, Henri Martin, when he put together the estate starting in 1940, he only picked classified vintages or vineyards. I'm sorry. So the wine is made up of all classified vineyards, but it did not exist in 1855, and that list has not changed. So if you're not on that list, you will never be on the list. I want to pick out 3 wines: the Pagodes, the Confidants, and the Griffins are all second wines made from the Grand Vin estate. Typically, they pick just lots that don't make the main label. Right now in Bordeaux, they're very rigorous about what goes into the main label. So what gets not picked is often just a shade under the main label, but certainly fabulous wine. I especially like the Griffins, the Pichon Baron, second growth, 18 vintage. That's a knockout wine. It shows what modern day Bordeaux is like. It's luscious, it's forward, it's sexy, it's got a great balance of wood, the oak and everything. And it's from an estate that is really at the top of the game right now in Bordeaux. And the other wine I want to point out is that 2010 Les Combes. Les Combes is the second growth, so that puts it in the top 20 of all the Bordeaux in the Medoc area. It's from a great vintage, comparable to 2016, and it's mature. So this is second growth, Margaux, mature from a great vintage. This is about as nice as Bordeaux can be, I think. And that about cleans it up in terms of the left bank. Now let's jump over to the right bank.
Before we do that, first of all,
yeah.
Rod's comment, I am so proud of the number of 15s and 16s that we have. It's really something. We deal with one of the top importers of Bordeaux in the United States. We had one killer question, Rod, that I want to address. And if you don't mind, I'm going there because I'm the restaurant rat that was big on temperature and decanting. What temperature should these wines be served at? If they're coming out of a cellar temperature of around 55, which is pretty cold, pouring them gently into a decanter. The 15s and 16s, you can check them for sediment. They may have started to drop. The 2010 definitely has, but just getting it out of the bottle will raise it by at least 5 degrees and brings it between 60 and 65, which I think is, if you think at a room at 65, it's still quite cool, but it opens up the wine and it's not so cold that the tannins are harsh. So thank you for letting me interrupt before you take us to right. You know what I'm gonna do real quick? I'm gonna show us that beautiful map we had at the end, if I can do that, hold on. Because, whoops, I'm just not even gonna try. I'm gonna let you talk about the left bank because I'm failing there on the screen share. Can you see the right bank now?
Yes, right bank, okay. We have 3 groups here, Fronsac, Saint-Emilion, Pomerol. I talked about soil. On the other side, you had the limestone and gravel. On this side, you have clay and sand, and either limestone or gravel. The biggest difference between Saint-Emilion and Pomerol is again the soil. Up in Saint-Emilion, you have a lot of limestone, and in Pomerol you have a lot of gravel and sand. First, let's say Pomerol. If you think of California, what's out there in terms of, there's a lot of gravel, loam, things like that. Pomerol soil actually is probably closer to California than other parts of Bordeaux. And a lot of people immediately see that. When they have Pomerols, they go, wow, this is just like my favorite Cabernet or Merlot. Whereas Saint-Emilion is a little tougher for them because it's got a lot of limestone. Limestone gives the wine lift, structure. It makes it a little firmer. So Saint-Emilion in that respect would be more like the left bank, and Pomerol is just kind of its own. People in this country love Pomerol, so Pomerol prices, that's what they are. So, but the wines are fabulous. Of these, the first wine is Fronsac. Fronsacs are right next to Saint-Emilion, so that's going to be much like those. I think this is a lovely value. Can't be beat. The next two, Villamarine and Fleur Cardinal, those are what's called there are the Grand Cru class, and that equates to the left bank like it's a 4th or 5th growth. The Fleur Cardinal is a sensational wine. It's modern, it's sexy. They just really know how to make a wine that just tastes great right off the bat, and I think they've done a nice job with that. That's going to be about 90% Merlot, and the rest is going to be Cabernet Franc. Of the Pomerols, I'm fond of Bordeaux. I've been to Bordeaux. I stayed there, and it's a great estate. Yeah, so it's a great estate. The prices are quite reasonable for that wine, and it's modern. They do a sensational job there. They've had one unfortunate thing happen to them. They lost their winemaker to Aubryon, I believe. So
A lady.
She obviously,
Yeah.
yes, she obviously knew what she was doing, and they had, and I think they will be a discovered estate, and we might see their prices rise up a little bit as they gain notoriety out there. I did want to say something about the 17s, because we're talking of 15s and 16s. Why do we have 17s on there? Well, a couple of reasons. All of those estates on there are part of the Mouex realm of chateau that they own, and Mouex owns Chateau Petrus. They only buy what they consider to be the best estates, and I think the Bel Air, Monage, Rouget, Latour, Pomerol, and Trotanoir are those estates. Now, 17s actually for Merlot is an excellent vintage, and you can see by the scores there that they've got. It's a early maturing vintage, so even though these wines are 17s, one can enjoy them greatly in the next 2 or 3 years. I'm saying don't miss these wines. Don't poo-poo them because they're not from the right vintage. They are from the right people, and they did a great job in that vintage. Let's just jump into Rhone. I've always used to say that, and I still do. If all the wines in the world are the same price, I'd be buying Bordeaux all the time, but they aren't. They aren't the same price. So what do I buy? I buy Rhone. So a lot of my personal buying, and I'll buy Bordeaux, put it away and drink it and be glad I did. But if I'm just going to get a bottle out tonight, it's going to be a Rhone, generally that first wine that's been sober from the family pairing. We had them on not too long ago, and we showed the wine as a knockout. I bought a bottle that night to try it, and I was stunned at the value there. In my opinion, if you're paying $15 for a red wine, I can't think of a better wine than that. It's half Syrah, half Grenache, and it just delivers. You really, there's nothing more to say about that. The wine below it, Fontaloups, Chateauneuf de Pape, Late Demoiselle is their young vine cuvee. It's I think it's more Grenache. I think 80 Grenache and 20 Syrah. Beautiful wine. It's precocious. It's lovely. It's soft. It jumps out. It's floral, black fruits, blue fruits. Really a sensational bottle.
Oh, I'm going to PST on that. The Demoiselle, it's unbelievably delicious and forward, and made by a lady winemaker too. Rod and I feel equally about that wine. You can drink this today or forget about it in your basement, right, Rod?
Yep. But yeah. If you drink one today, you might think, "Wow, I fell in love with it. And I'm gonna just keep drinking it." But it will age. It will age. I think 19 is going to be a fabulous vintage throughout all of France, by the way. So just look out for those wines as they start to come out. That's all in Rhone.
Thank you very much. I will mention that Denny recently went to Beaucastel, right, Denny? And you're a big fan of that property.
Fantastic.
Anything you want to tell us about that?
I'd like to go back. No, it's a fabulous spot. We were very fortunate, and we spent half a day at the winery. There's something special about once you're walked on the property of a winery that you've sold over the years. You don't forget something as simple as 2 winery dogs running around. We had a wonderful tasting. They were bringing in, we went in September of 2019, so they were starting to bring in some of the grapes. We saw the little road that connected Beaucastel, Chateauneuf de Pape from Coudelet to Beaucastel, Côte de Rhône, which is about 20 feet wide. It's just a spectacular property. You can tell that they've done a very good job, well respected, and we had to suffer through 8 or 9 wines for a tasting, but we were able to get through that.
And well, you'll notice the Cornu and the Lessinard and the Beaucastel are all owned by the Perrin family.
Same family.
Yep, do an amazing job.
They know what they're doing.
Rod, incomparable little walk through right and left bank Bordeaux and the Rhone, and now everyone knows why we call you our beloved professor, because you bring it to life with Very cool bits of information. Mike, I know you're waiting on natural wines. I'm gonna soar through Italian reds and then Spain and Portugal. So if you wanna pipe up about any of these, please do. And I promise I'll give you all y'all the short version. This first one, the Barolo at $45 is a stunner, you know, and it's a Barolo that, to use Denny's word, is utterly accessible. It's a single site, but the tannins are not savage the way they can often be on young Barolo and Barbaresco. I highly recommend it. It's balanced. It does need a little bit of a lamb chop to make it taste smooth. The second wine, I did a double take when I saw the price on this, the Mazet sur Lapo. Actually, Filippo Mazet is the owner winemaker. This is a producer an estate you may well be familiar with, Castello di Fonterutoli. And they make wonderfully smooth, elegant, classic Chiantis. If you check out their website, they have cuvées from all communes, Berardenga, Castellina, and Rada. And I just think it's a lot of wine for the money. It shows Chianti Reserva at its best, integrated oak, super smooth. This wine here, Il Poggione Brunello, Mr. Dunnett gave it a 96, and Venice, notably Mr. Galone, gave it a 97 plus and was sort of hyperventilating about it. This is a large producer that makes stunning Brunello, and this is, quote unquote, a classic in the making. It is silky, it is rich, it is glorious. And if you like Brunello that's rich, but, you know, has a chance of showing now, especially if you use a decanter, go for it. The Guidalberto, I want to remind us all, this is from Sassicaya's parent estate, Tenuta San Guido. And this is their, you know, baby Sassicaia, if you will, Cabernet Merlot blend, drinking like an angel right now. The 18s are not big, but they're a good, very good vintage for Tuscany. They're just not huge, so utterly accessible at 40. And finally, I'm going to skip on down to the Rubrato because I've been lucky enough to go to Campania, and I think Aglianico, which, by the way, is a bastardization of Elliniko, which means Greek. I'm Greek, so I like to bring that to everyone's attention. They used to think this came from Greece. It doesn't. The punchline is it's a native Campanian grape. It is a noble variety that we all need to pay more attention to. They've started planting it actually in Australia, notably the Barossa Valley, with great success. It's a great warm climate grape, but Feudi di San Gregorio is a noble producer of Aglianico, and Rubrato is their eminently accessible Aglianico at $15. If you like earth, if you like a little bit of rasp, if you don't want polished, fruity New World, this is your guy. Anything you want to chime in on those Italians, Mike, before I jump on into Portugal and Spain?
Only the Renato Rotti is what I call a pop and pour Barolo. Believe it or not, it is delicious right out of the bottle, as Denny calls it, approachable, and an excellent example of a Barolo that you can drink tonight. So I would look at that one.
Which is sort of counterintuitive. By the way, Patrick Mulrooney at Bloomfield feels equally about the Renato Rotti Marcinasco. And Mr. Timpa at West Bloomfield loves the Sur Lapo and is overly enthusiastic, as I am, about Il Poggione. So going to Iberia quickly, Marques de Caceres, or Marques de Caceres, if we are pronouncing it correctly, makes utterly classic Rioja. If you like age, if you like that, you know, venacity early on in the game, at $18, it's pretty amazing. You know, oak and layers. But I'm on its heels, I want to mention a wine that Patrick Mulrooney made me promise that I would champion, the Remeliuri. This is serious Rioja. This is, you know, at the highest altitude in Rioja, up to 3,000 feet in Alavesa. They produce some of the first single vineyard Riojas in Spain. They haven't been around forever. They started in like the 1960s, but the estate dates back to the 10th century. And I didn't know this. The name comes from Count Aramel, who was a Basque warrior, and Uri means sight in Basque. Just gorgeous, plush, rich, super smooth. If you like Pomerol mouthfeel, this is your guy. A personal favorite, Priorat in general, but definitely Clos Figueres, which is, you know, a blend of ancient Carignan and Garnacha with a couple of international varieties allowed. But, you know, you have that beautiful, rocky, inorganic stoniness with, you know, Cabernet's black fruit and not too much oak. I adore Priorat. Here's a personal favorite at $15. Touriga Nacional, the A+++ port grape, the same guy that goes into your vintage port and tawny ports grown in Alentejo. Huge, it takes up 1/3 of the southeast of Portugal, 1/3 of the country in southeastern Portugal. And this is where corks are grown. All the corks, most of the corks that are produced in the world come from this region. But this is an example of a dry red produced from a port grape. And I love these wines. They give us a lot of that black fruit and black plum character at a killer price. No oak worth talking about on this. Anything else about this category, Mike? Are you with me on this?
I would agree with Patrick about the Reserva, the 2013 Reserva is a fantastic example of high elevation. And I would, if you have not tried, I guess, Portugal table wine, you should try them, because right now at $15 and $18, those are value red wines, and Portugal is every year they do a better and better job of producing in not port but table wine, and they're going to be a serious player for years and years to come. So
you're bringing us to a category we just added. Why did we do this, Mike?
Because Denny asked.
Favorite category.
Yeah.
Denny's favorite category is natural wine. So real quick, because I know we're running late. There's two. If you want to geek out on natural wine, talk to me or talk to Mike Timpa out in Owen County. But there's kind of two things about natural wine. There's the geeky natural wine that the young people are going for, which is young, fresh, fruity, all of those things. And then there's natural wines that are primarily on this list. What you might discover is wines of the old world are just made naturally. There's not additives to them. They don't add anything to them. They're mostly grown now organic. They add very little sulfites, only if they need to. And they're surprised when there's this new category called natural wine. Two, I will give you an example of. One is the Vignoble de Rivière Pierre Sauvage. This is an Alsace white made from, as they say, the three Pinots, Blanc, Gris, and Noir. It is $20. It is a kind of a richer style Alsace white in terms of apricot notes, yellow peach and plum, and then a dried apricot finish. Young winemaker, loves to make natural wine and loves to do skin contact wine out of Alsace. The other one is at the bottom, the Le Hérétique, as we call it, for $12. I know Rod had sold this for years at Ann Arbor West. It is a natural wine. They just don't add anything to it. It is 90 Carignan, 10% Syrah, and it is the ideal bistro wine. If you just want a comfortable go-to red wine for $12, Le Hérétique is one that you really should consider. Lastly is Vinca Miners Mendocino Red out of California. We had an event months ago with Jason Edward Charles. Jason has some Detroit connection, but he's been out in California for a number of years. His goal is to make non-intervention wine, and he makes primarily Carignan-based wines, but this Mendocino Red is Zin, Carignan, and Petite Sirah. If you don't think natural wines can age, take a look at this one because it's 2017. And for $20, it is what I call a crunchy wine in terms of it has nice acidity, minerality, as well as some great flavors. But if you look at the list, there's a Crow's Hermitage on here. That's a quote unquote natural wine. There's a Frappato on here that's a natural wine. There are many, many producers that just, they don't advertise as natural wine. When you ask them or when you tell them, they just say, well, that's how we always made it. And that's how we do it. And they don't add anything. And if you wanted a list of the additives that can be added to wine in the United States, call Mike Timper or myself and we'll tell you. But these are just people who believe in making the wine in the vineyards, not necessarily in the producing or adding to it, just making wine from grapes, and that's what they do best.
Perfectly said. This wine, the Frappato from Sicily, again, one of Michael Timpa's favorites. He was levitating when he was talking about it, telling me that there's just a little bit of Nero d'Avola in it, and it's medium light bodied, and it's so fragrant and delicious. Ask him about it when you go to West Bloomfield. So that said, we made it through. Gee, we're only 20 minutes late. That's okay, but we had a lot of conversation. I don't see anything else in the chat room, but we are hanging for a few more minutes if you want to unmute yourself or ask any questions. Rod, do you want to remind everybody, though, about the spring sale? What are the punchlines of how people can get the most out of it? And I can bring the website up again if you want me to.
Sure. If you got the easiest way is to link on the email that you got, and that'll take you there, or you can just go to plummarket.com and this page should come up. Not this page, but the entry page.
The entry page is, hold on just a minute. Here's our
this page,
homepage, and then down here, spring wine sale.
So you want to hit on spring wine sale, and then that will kick you into the spring wine sale. And if you want to print it out or take a look at the wines, just ponder which ones you like. And then when you've
printable
done that,
list right here, right? I just saw it.
Yeah, the printable list. You can print it out, or you can just look at it online.
There it is.
There it is. So
God, cool. Okay.
So you can look at that, and once you've decided which wines you want to buy, then you'll click on the store of your choice, and that'll take you to the various sections. And then you want to click on the section that has your wines.
There's the printable list again, just in case you lose it. Yes.
And notice that we have pictures of wines. They just represent what's inside. So you click on the list. Let's say if you click on Bright Bank Bordeaux or
I just took us to natural wine.
Natural. Okay, so natural. So there you are. Then if you click on either one of those wines, then another screen will show up and says add to basket. You can either add to basket or change the quantity to what you want. Like in this case, you're going to say 36 or something like that. and these are single bottles, and then you add that to the basket. Now, I'm not sure if once you've added to the basket, do you have to do a back click, or does it automatically send you
a back click? So you can just go this way again, right?
Yeah.
And then you can go that way again as well.
And and you can go that way again, and then click on the next section. And then when you've finished clicking on all the sections, and you've got hundreds of bottles in there, then there's on the upper right will be the basket, which you want to click on.
Which
and on
you
your
can't
screen
see here, but it'll be there, right?
Yes. But it will be there. And once you click on the basket, then your order will appear there. And then you can say, oh my gosh, I forgot to add this and that and the other. So you can do that there. And when you've done that, then you have to fill in the pertinent information, name, address, payment situation, and making sure that you're in the right store, and then submit the order.
But the discount code is,
I'm sorry. Yes, that's the most important around.
Discount code. Yes.
Discount code is spring wine.
Mm-hmm. One word, no spaces. Right.
Yes. It's important that you hit that, because if you don't, actually, our IT people kind of just explode. It's a difficult. We can handle it, but it's best to handle it.
Don't you want your 10% off? Right,
yeah. So it's happened that people have forgot to do that. They showed up in the store. What about my 10%? So we can still handle that, but it's best if we handle it right here on the site. And then after that, you'll get an email, and then confirming your order, and then at another point you'll get another and the day of your pickup. It's been my understanding that guys have been sending out emails to say when your wine is done. That does not happen. Then you can just show up on the fourth day. But
What should they wait, like a solid week?
well, the
4
fourth
days.
day,
Okay,
4
fourth
days.
day.
You
We have
will
a-
be given a
Yeah, you'll be given a date. Yep. And if
you'll
you'll be given
be given a
if there's
date.
Yep. If there's a delay, we try to email you if, say, your date is 4 days down the road and it's already available. We try to email you if we can. If there's any delay, we also try to email you. But yeah, the date you have on your email that comes back to you is the day that it will be ready.
Cool. And just to remind everyone, we are in 2 weeks going to have a Burgundy tasting, yay, with red and white Burgundy made by this incredibly open-hearted gentleman, Dominique Gruyere. So all that talk about Pinot Noir and Chardonnay from France is going to be experienced by us and brought home by the Frenchman who's going to join us. So we have about 24 people still on. Do you have any questions for us? Unmute at will, says the person who was, strident about making you mute. We're very happy you sat through this with us. It will be recorded and posted on the website for folks other than us who want to listen to our comments, which Denny has a hard time believing, but I think that we said a lot of useful things tonight.
I'd like to add this. There's over 100 wines here, and we talked about a few of them. For instance, in the Bordeaux, I like Bordeaux. I could talk about any one of those Bordeaux. I'd be happy with all of them. So feel free to email me, and I could give you my specifics about any one of them and why they made the list and what makes them special. For instance, on the Centimillions, I didn't say that the three of them, the Pavie Macan, La Gaffelière, and the Bel-Air Monage are premier Grand Cru class Centimillions, which is kind of their equivalency of a second or third growth. So
Okay, hold on. I'm
these are
bringing that back up
So-
so that we can
so-
follow what you're saying. Hold on. Where were we? Right bank?
Oh, and the right bank. So you're
repeat
looking
them
at
again.
the La Gaffelière, Pavie Macan, and the Bel-Air Monage. Due to room specifics, we didn't put up what exactly their parameters were, but they're premier Cru Centimillions in what's called a Group B. And these wines weren't ranked in 1855 because they weren't ready. They didn't have it together then to do that. But those wines would be the equivalent of the Medoc's second and third growth wines. So those are equal stars, and they it's unfortunate that system didn't happen, but there are ways to acknowledge their worth there. But as I said, I think all of us have other wines that we can talk about freely with you. So if you want to just send out an email to us or text or something like that, we'll be glad to talk about it.
We do have a question directed to Mike, and I love this. This is the elephant in the room. What is a natural wine versus other wines? Can you be slightly more specific? Is it strictly additives? Is it a completely hands-off attitude, Mike, in terms of their winemaking?
So there's the tough part about natural wine is there's no rule book necessarily,
Right, or certifications, right?
or certifications at all.
Right.
So it's basically minimal intervention is what you would look for. Usually the winemaker uses native yeast instead of adding yeast for fermentation. Usually sulfur is not added or sulfur is used as a stabilizer. Sometimes it's added, sometimes it's not. And there's a wide range of natural wines, and it's using the grapes, running it through, not adding anything to the process of making the wine to have the product. And as I said, a lot of old world winemakers, that's just how they've always done it. but there are, I think in the United States, there are 70 additives that are allowed to wine to make wine. And some of them might shock you, but they're not all the sour beer tasting, it feels like fermentation is going on in the second bottle. I think the wines that we have presented today are excellent examples of wines that if I did not tell you they were natural wines, you would not know they were natural wines. And that's just, it's kind of a clean way to make wine without adding anything to it. Or if you have to, it's minimally done.
And, you know, to PS to that, you know, if you were to talk to 25 winemakers who have tremendous integrity from different growing regions in the world, they touch the wine as little as possible. You know, they are like uniformly obsessed with reflecting their terroir through perfect fruit. If they're from a growing region where humidity is an issue, they have to use sprays, and they try to do so in the vineyard using organically approved sprays and such. They use sulfur routinely, as little as possible. You know, so I think, you know, the takeaway, and, you know, from the downside, if you put your nose in the glass of a wine that smells off or, you know, volatile or like vinegar or, you know, unattractive or even repulsive, there's nothing wrong with you in disliking it. You know, so just saying natural wine is not an endorsement. It's simply a reflection of a producer's, you know, ethos. And I don't think you would disagree with me that they're right.
No, not at all. And the problem is there are a lot of natural winemakers who make wine with salt. And some people think that that's just natural wine, and it's not. And I think that right now there's a category of natural wine that I think eventually is just going to kind of fade away to wine. And I mean, we've kind of, if you look in the stores now, we have special signs for natural wines, and they're just minimal intervention wines. And what you're going to see, at least through my store, is classic producers that might shock you are natural wine producers. But again, if you tell them, hey, you fall under this natural wine section,
they go, what?
Like, what do you, I don't know what you're talking, I don't care. This is just how I've always made it for 200 years. This is how we've done it, and I don't know any other way to do it. So it's kind of a confusing category. There are some natural wines that are deemed natural, and they have a certain flavor profile to them. But a lot of older wines are natural, and we're as we delve deeper into it, we're finding from producers that this is just how we've always made it. And surprisingly, Madeline, a lot of Greek wines, some of the oldest wines in the world, are natural wines. That's always how they've made it. They've never added anything to it. They never had.
They didn't have to, you know.
No,
they were lucky in terms of their growing regions, but you know.
And they're talented winemakers that didn't need to add anything to make something taste better
And to your great point, we don't drink wines through our minds. We drink them through, you know, our senses, and we can trust our senses. But boy, it's sure interesting if a wine is delicious to add another layer of appreciation by how it's produced. I want to give a figurative virtual hug to my colleagues, Rod Johnson, Denny Walsh, Mike Pfeiffer, and most of all, you. Thank you for your attention, for your interest. I will send up a follow-up email. Thank you, Robin, for your appreciation. And I will attach the PDF with the list. You can always, I'll open copy the four of us. And actually Patrick Mulrooney from Bloomfield and Michael Timpa from West Bloomfield, and the venerable Jorge Lopez Chavez from Ann Arbor North Campus. So you can contact them all directly if you like. Thank you for your support of Plum. We never take it for granted. We appreciate you more than we can say. Gentlemen, anything to add?
Thank you for your attendance. We look forward to helping you out if we can help you.
Two quick
Thank
questions.
you.
Nancy has a quick question.
I like the idea of the gift box. I wondered are they splits of each of those award winners?
Full-size bottles.
Gorgeous
Okay.
present.
And when will the in-person, is there a plan for the in-person wine tastings to come?
We've started talking about it, and we're wondering if we can possibly have our fall walk around tastings. So I'm going to contact the venues where we normally have them. We're not sure about dates. We were, discussing per usual end of October, beginning of November for our big walk around. In terms of West Bloomfield, Ann Arbor North Campus, and Old Town, not tomorrow, but we've got our ears up, and we
Good.
want to make sure to do this in a way that makes everyone feel safe. It's a little hard to social distance when you're pouring wine across from a table, right? So we're going to be slightly cautious about this, but we're not blind to the fact that people want to see each other and they want to see us. So certainly I think mid to late fall, you can probably bank on in one form or another, but TBD. We are like completely redesigning the West Bloomfield wine bar area for events. So it's not like we're never going to do it again. We want to be sensible about this.
Looking forward to it. And thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
What I like to say to that too is that we're doing the behind the scenes work. So at some point we will get the go ahead, but at that point we will already know what to do. So we won't rush into it. We will have already decided all of the various steps to get there. But first things first, the state actually has to come through and say you can do this, that, and the other. But we still are doing all of the work right now. So when that happens, so that we can do it safely.
All right, everyone, have a terrific rest of the day. There's still light outside. I'm going to take a walk, believe it or not. I've been sitting at a computer all day, and then eat something delicious, and I hope you will too. And I hope you have a special Saturday and Sunday in every way that makes you feel happy. We'll see you hopefully in a couple of weeks. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good evening.